Greetings. It's February. Yay. People are so excited about February. I don't understand why February is only month that is focused on love, romance, um, what do you call it? Engagements, breakups. Let's talk about it tonight. I have my co-host.
And good evening, and welcome. It is February. And
It's February, Dr. J.
as much as I would like to think about Black history, it's funny that in Black history we don't talk a whole lot about love and romance because so much of it is preoccupied by that day, February 14th, and that is Valentine's Day, that people begin to become not only infatuated, but people begin to pursue. And sometimes they even make up things simply because of the fact they feel obligated to create this ideal of this fantasy of this imagery of love and happiness.
Yes, Dr. J, the show Love and Happiness. And what's the price? You know, love ain't expensive. Love is expensive because you're always trying to overcompensate
Yeah.
that individual. You feel a lot of times that love is based on material things, what you give and do for that individual. And then when you don't do, it
Mhm.
causes a breakup and especially on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Let some flowers or stuffed teddy bear or candy not be there, then oh, he don't love me, he don't care, she don't like me, she didn't cook for me, she didn't clean, she didn't buy me nothing special, but yet she wants me to give her roses, she wants me to give her candy. But what about me? February 14th, it could be explosive.
Well, it can be explosive for many different reasons. And that's one of the things I call, I have a concept that I think so many of our holidays are what I call artificial constructs. They are things that have been invented by man. And so we find ourselves falling prey to those things. And so this false set of expectations that we have, and oftentimes it's been misunderstood. It depends on who you are and who the players are. Oftentimes it becomes the biggest tool of manipulation because of the fact, man, it's amazing what a few boxes of chocolate and flowers can do to erase so much other stuff that may be wrong. Or somehow or another, it speaks volumes that he loves me not. Well, I'll be honest with you, Dr. Val, I've been seeing Valentine candy in the store since January 1st. And I don't know
Indeed.
what makes it any more special on Valentine's Day as it was when it was sitting in the store all this time.
But it's just, how people, go and gravitate to the stigma, of what is, when it's Christmas, everybody's got these Christmas decorations going on. When it's Thanksgiving, you see Thanksgiving decorations going on. Valentine's Day is significant because why? There's so many people that are not comfortable in their own skin. And what happens on that day is they use that one day out of the whole year to look for gratification, validation, that one day. And then you got 365 days in the year, but one day out of those 365 days, you use that one day for it to be able to identify and make validate who you are as an individual.
Well, the sad thing about it, we grow up as children and we're told nursery rhymes, we're told things that are not true. We're told about Santa Claus and him coming down the chimney. Then we discover it's not true. Then we're told about Peter Rabbit and, coming down the bunny trail, and that's not true. And then for some reason, for adults, we get caught up with the fairy tale of Cupid. Cupid, hold back your bow and let your arrows go straight to my lover's heart. Well, there's no Cupid effect. It's only the one that we imagine in our mind because truly love and happiness cannot be necessarily reduced or contained in one day, in one magical day that it turns there. It is something that I believe has to be developed. It has to be something that is there. It has to be something that is actually nurtured. It's kind of like, think about it. What might be the difference if a person takes you out to dinner on January 14th versus February 14th? other than the fact of holiday, the perceived holiday. In that perceived holiday, you have to ask yourself the question: is it really for you and your significant other, or do we feel this whole enchantment and thing because of the fact it is a symbol to those on the outside that we are in love and we're sharing our happiness? And as you gave in your opening dialogue, many times we now live in a time where men are saying, "But what you do for me? I got you a gift, but where my gift? I did this for you." And so it begins to be what I call artificial in many ways. But guess what? When I say what's the price, Dr. Val, you may be surprised at the price that is paid and the price that is invested in this holiday or in just relationships, period. That when you think about from the date to the gifts to all those things there. The pursuit of happiness through love can also involve a huge, substantial financial commitment. It can. And for many people, they go through the motions of it, and oftentimes only to discover that perhaps they have created their own imagination, because I honestly believe that a person could live and could love and express love in such a way that, listen, February 14th just simply become another day in the arrangements of how we do things, because we've seen it happen. The restaurants are going to be full. You can't, if you don't have a reservation, you're going to be waiting, and all those things. And do we go through all those things with just saying, I'm going to enjoy this, if you would, this, I would like to call this anomaly that we're having for this moment. Because honestly, that though love and happiness is in the air, I think it's important that we don't artificially construct it, that it has to be something that is genuine. And I,
Yeah, a lot of times they get so caught up in the hype of it all.
yes, yes.
When you go back to your homes after you do that dinner and you back home with that same person that was there that day before and the day before that, and nothing's changed, what did you accomplish? And what is that price that you're willing to pay for that one day of satisfaction and gratification to your flesh when the home situation isn't right? There's a mandate on your partner to give a ring. If you've been dating for a certain amount of years, that's the day that you give that ring, Valentine's Day. And when it doesn't happen, it sets the tone for the rest of the year for your relationship. You find that individuals are stressed out, that because their tempers are short, and because of the fact that they did not get the validation that they thought they should have gotten, and they hinge their heart, their emotion on that one day.
And it goes back to what I was saying. Holidays like Valentine's Day, what it does, it amplifies those dynamic by really, if you were being honest with ourselves, it places, I like to call it, it places false expectation. It places obligation, a societal expectation for expression of affection. And so when these things come on, we think that these things could strengthen our bonds. And not saying that they cannot, but what we have to understand that the day in and of itself is not a magic wand. It is the work that it takes before, during, and after to really reap the rewards of coming together. Because I believe that if you're going to celebrate Valentine's Day, it should be done from an expression of, I just simply want to celebrate our love.
Right. And how that plays out shouldn't be catered around what your girlfriend them or your bro man them doing to set the tone for what goes on in your relationship. And I think that's what happens in a lot of relationship. We invite the world in when we need to be working from the inside out, not the outside in.
Well, you're exactly right. And Dr. Valentine's Day, to a certain sense, when it comes to couples, is very much like Christmas. Those days can really actually present a financial strain on the couple. A
Oh,
financial strain,
yes, yes.
because the individual feel compelled to spend beyond their means to demonstrate love.
Especially if they spending and buying for more than one woman.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other topic altogether, right? Where do I get the main chick? Where do I get the side chick? And where do I get the side chick? inside of those things. And that pressure results in not only financial strain, but potentially, I mean, it affects the relationship satisfaction. So the thing about it, when we talk about love and happiness, we all want it. We all want to. We want to feel loved. We want to feel needed. We want to feel valued. We want to feel as if we have that place that we can truly be vulnerable and transparent and understand that we're not being taken advantage of. We want to be in that place where we feel valued, that we feel that we matter, and that we matter beyond our gifts, beyond our talent, beyond even our looks, beyond our occupation, that someone really sees me for me, and they feel it significantly enough that they can express it, whether it's through a gift, whether it's through an event, whether it's through just spending quality time in
Yeah,
those things.
one day does not define your beauty. It
No,
does not define your worth. You are who you are all year round. Now, we have the ability to cause a shift, a paradigm shift in our lives where we want to be better and walk in our purpose. And sometimes when we have to choose that God ordained purpose for us versus that individual that is part of our lives, sometimes we got to cut the ties. But we don't want to cut the ties sometimes because we don't want to be alone. It just took so long to get this person, and I don't know when another one is going to come by. But sometimes you got to lose in order to gain.
exactly. Well, you know
You
what?
have to let go so that the better can come. And I'm talking from experience, and because
Oh
I
yeah,
know that there were many Valentine's Day that I was home alone, and I just went and ordered me some food and came here, sat there and watched television and ate my food, and the day passed by. And yes, I was lonely, yes, I was depressed, but I did not allow that to overwhelmed me to the point where I belittled myself and was willing to go outside of the box just to say I did something with someone when that person just really wasn't part of who the equation of my life was supposed to be surrounded around. So I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going out like that. I was
well,
going to stand until he came, my king came, and I wasn't going to settle. And a lot of times we settle
yeah,
just to say we have someone. We settle because we don't want to be looked on as someone that, oh, she's not married. Look how old she is. We settle and we start looking and saying, well, I'm not good enough. My weight's not what it's supposed to be. That's why I can't find a man. Well, I'm not as pretty as her, so that's why I can't find a man. But if we focus on who we are, if we walk in our purpose and fulfill the plan, you know, that mate will come because they will be aligned with the purpose that you have and they have. Let me tell you something. It's better to be alone than to wish you were. I can speak volumes for that. It's better to be alone than to wish you were.
well, I remember you saying those things for a long time throughout the time that we've known each other, and I remember there are times that you said that, and that was so reflective. And I go back to saying, and definitely, I like to invite the audience opinion. Those of you that are watching, put in the chat what price do you think that price do you think love and happiness is worth? What are the things that people should do, or what are the things that people do in order to pursue or try to obtain love and happiness? I think about a year ago this time, I took myself out for Valentine's Day. I went, I I ate at a restaurant and I brought myself home. But God knows I had no idea what would be happening in just a few short weeks that changed the whole trajectory of my life. But I also can recall the year before that, yes, babysitting my grandson on Valentine's Day while his mom went out with my daughter. You know,
I remember that.
yeah, so I've had those times, and by no means do I feel that I'm out of place or that somehow or another, I'm dusty on the shelf. There's no eyes on you or nothing. I think it becomes, if I am I happy with myself? Am I content with myself? Not being in a relationship doesn't mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes people choose not to be in a relationship because they know they're not ready yet. They know that there are things in their lives that they want to focus on right now. They know that hey, perhaps I don't have a capacity right now to navigate and to be able to be unselfish inside of being to someone what they want. I think that when one thinks solidly like that, they're not so easy to get caught up in the fantasy of what the romance and all that may seem like. Unfortunately, television, movies, and even music oftentimes creates an artificial or, if you would, mystical thing about relationship. But the reality is that relationships are things that you have to nurture. And
Yeah.
it doesn't always just become, magical. That magic is created as you grow, as those things about trust and belief and respect and being valued come there. That's when you got something solid because it becomes more than just an emotion. It
Yeah.
becomes more than just an emotion. And I think that too often the imagery of love and relationship is always, the steamy stuff and those things there. When the reality is that, man, sometimes you could have something solid because we just connect like that. We
Right. It's
respect
good to be able to have someone in your life that you can communicate with. Life is going to be lifing. Life is going to be going on. Everything is not in the bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything is not in the bed. Everything is not romance. There are going to be situations and circumstances in your life that will cause you to go to your knees for that spouse and for that individual. You get married today, and tomorrow one of you have an incident in your life that's life threatening, and you're going to have to be there for that person. So, allow love to flourish, allow love to blossom where you love an individual regardless of what they can do for you at that time, because of the fact that there will come a time when life will actually be life. And what
Yeah,
are you going to do? Okay, you're going to walk away from this person. Oh, you loved them and you begged them to marry you and, give me a commitment, a commitment. I want a ring. You need to put a ring on it. Y'all listening too much of Beyonce. Because after you put a ring on it, life begins. Real life sets in. You're going to have to worry about come up with a financial plan. And if
yes.
you're getting married, you're gonna this day and time you need prenups.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of
If you
people,
if you have something substantial and you need a prenup, and it has nothing to do with whether you love an individual or you don't, or you thinking that, okay, if I have one, it's so we could, we're not focusing on staying together forever. But there's situation and outside influence that will interfere with your relationship, and you just want to set the record clear, because truly, if you love one another, what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine. But if there ever comes a time where there has to be a separation, there's not going to be no stress involved because it's already been laid out what it is.
well, I think there's pros and cons to that, and one reason I say that I think that surely you go into something clear and level minded. You go into things recognizing the fact that perhaps look, there are things that that pre-existed before we entered into each other's life. I
Yes.
have to respect that. I have to value that. I have to know that. I don't feel that you enter in and all of a sudden I just take everything that you didn't work hard and that you've accumulated and sacrificed without me and vice versa. And so I think there's an understanding that one has, and if you feel the need to put it in writing, then do so inside of that. But by the same token, I think that there has to be some type of vision for the future. And when I say the vision for the future, I think, first of all, I think we've gone from relationship to marriage because, excuse me, we ultimately look at marriage as being, if you would, I won't say the fruition of a relationship, but then again, it is because I believe that people that date, they have to have a goal in dating. And for some folks, they just date because yeah, just kicking around, have somebody to hang around with, companionship. We use those terms a lot. But people that date for a purpose and they want to be married, they want to have a family, they want to establish things. It's a little different because one then have to decide, what does marriage look like? What do I expect out of marriage? What is the vision for marriage? And what does that require? There's sacrifice that comes with it. There's compromise that comes with it. And how do we navigate through these things there? And I think that when we come to those type of things there, what we understand is that the wedding is only the wedding is the commencement. It's the commencement. We come together. It's a public announcement that we are now one. But then marriage began.
Yes.
The marriage began, and that marriage. Think about what I just said. Though we may enter into it with things that was pre-existing, but from this day forward, we're now building a life together, meaning that we're open to the fact that we may definitely accumulate things together. We may achieve things together. We may do those things together, and we understand what togetherness means. And I think that when it comes to the fact of really respecting and valuing one another, you don't kind of walk in with saying, well, let me see what I can get here, what I can get there. No, no. I think you come in and you're entering in understanding the value, the love, the respect, the intertwining of one's purpose and destiny. And I can't say that enough. Purpose and destiny goes beyond an emotion. Purpose and
Absolutely.
destiny goes beyond a feeling. For anyone who think that you can exist in a marriage of any proportion without having disagreement, then I think that you're illusional because you're two imperfect beings coming together. Worlds have been different. Although you may have 1,000 things in common, there are times you will have a different perspective. Those different perspectives should not be the thing that will totally, become the deal breaker. Those different perspectives. How do we work through these things? How do we navigate through these things? How do we come together? How do we nurture what we have? Because I really think, especially in today's time, you got to have such a focus and be so solid in what you understand that covenant to be. You got to be solid. Why? Because there's so many voices and so many things in the world that literally sends a message: give up, throw in the towel. You ain't got to take that. You bet you can do better than that. No, no, it is deeper than that. It is deeper than that. And I believe that, when people understand that it's deeper than that, then people don't get so bent out of shape because the fact you only got me 3 balloons for Valentine's Day and you could have got me 6. No, come on. Those are petty things. But people go through it because it has become their symbolism of, you know, this is your gift of
Yeah,
expression.
and then a lot of people get caught up in it because they figure at a certain point in their life that they're entitled to certain things. I walked down the aisle the second time when I was 55, getting ready to turn 56. I was 55 when I walked down the aisle again. Now, mind you, I had been married for almost 19 years. And then it took me almost that long to remarry again. But I occupied my time. I took that time to rediscover who I was because when you're in a relationship, a relationship or marriage with someone, I don't care what you say, what you do. When you're a female, your life kind of succumbs to the headship of that king. And you kind of turn when he turns. And then before you know it, I didn't really have anything going on except the children. But then when I discovered business and, my mind began to cultivate and I began to build and think, I was excited about the things I did, the places I was able to see, the things I be able to go and buy what I wanted, didn't have to hide it in the car and, all that stuff. I
Or
was
didn't have to hide the car,
rediscovering
right?
me. I was rediscovering what I liked. I was rediscovering what I loved. So I took time for me. And there's women that have never been married. Now, we're talking about relationships, but I'm talking from the woman point of view, and Dr. J is going to talk from the man so we can make some clarity here.
And we do have some
Now,
comments.
from my point of view, there's a lot of times that we try and figure out what looks good on the outside to our friends, and we're never happy. That's where depression sets in because you're not living a real life. You're living a fake life and trying to fake it till you make it. When you don't have to do nothing but just be yourself, introduce yourself to yourself and find what it is that makes you happy and do it. And these days, if you want to go somewhere like out of the country, there are groups that you can travel with and go on these trips so you won't be alone, because a lot of times when you book something and say you going with a girlfriend, then when it comes time to pay, the girlfriend ain't don't have no money, and then you wanted to go so bad enough that you pay their way there so that you can have somebody to be with, and then it become irritating because you paying for everything and you're still looking for that what about me, what about me. So discover who you are, and it doesn't matter how old you are. I have friends that got married after I did that were in their 60s
Yeah,
and they're still together. So don't look at your age and say, "Oh, I'm not timed out because I'm this age. I'm timed out because I'm that age." Well, you may time out when it comes to having children, but you don't time out when you're able to live, breathe, and have your being and enjoy the fruit of your labor. You worked all these years doing something. Do something for you. Celebrate you. And when you're happy with you, I'm sure there's a king out there that see there's a woman that's well put together. She knows who she want, and then you will pick her, swipe her right up. Because why? I don't speak, Dr. J. Some men don't want nobody that's going to be a total liability.
exactly. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because so often we look at I really think women have a great challenge, because there's so many mixed messages that are given to women in our society, in our culture. That there's a woman who she's damned if she is, and she damned if she do, she's damned if she don't. If she's independent woman and she's able to sustain for herself and take care of herself and thing, then you'll get this whole thing. Oh, she act like she don't need a man. Well, it doesn't mean that she doesn't want a man. It's just the fact that she's not waiting on a man to come rescue her. Inside of that, she knows that. Listen, let's just be honest with you. If dating or falling in love is just all about being taken out to dinner, is all about just going places alone, then perhaps you've sold yourself short, because you can do those things all by yourself.
Hey, Dr. J, I remember those days when women were excited if you took them to Denny's.
Right, right. But I think that when we evolve on a deeper level, when we understand that it's not so much where you took me in those things, but it's the time that you invested. It is the careful, the being, if you would, attention to details, um, listening to my life, valuing who I am, getting to understand that I'm not just the next person. And I think that's important. So women get a lot of different messages here. And like I said, there are comments that is in our chat section here tonight. But one of the things I do also understand that when men have not been cultivated, men also follow the narrative that they see, what they see pop culture do, what they hear pop culture do. Sometimes men are very much persuaded by their own sense of masculinity and what it's supposed to be. Because if you've been a man that's been brought up and your whole idea of relationship is just dominating women, here's the next woman I can get, or who's the next one I can slay. I am that hunter, but I'm hunting for game. I'm not hunting for love. Then you look at relationship as being very disposable. It's always for that man. It's always WIIFM. What's in it for me? It's
Mm-hmm.
not the consideration of what's in it for you. And so there are so many different things. There's a lot of men who are also afraid to get involved in a relationship, because they've also dealt with the type women who are basically, I hate to say it, they are gold diggers. They are users. They're those individuals who make you feel like, well, if you can't get my nails done, if you can't get that done, well, what were you doing before I met you? Because if that is your obligation, if that is your statement that you say must happen before you're in a relationship, then it would also make me suspect.
Absolutely.
Isn't it
You-
more beautiful when a man says, "Man, I would like to get that done for you. I know that you're able to do so, but I just want to feel like I'm investing in that part there. I love contributing to you looking well. I want to be a part of that." versus the game plan that happens, and then becomes the using stuff, and then you just manipulate, and then the immature person to go around, see what my man did for me. Listen here. For the person who understands that it's beyond just a tangible act, that this thing is deeper than that, let me say something. The glow on their face tells them what your man is doing for them. The peace of mind that you carry speaks volumes about the relationship that you're in. And I just wonder today, when we talk about love and happiness, what is the price? Well, let me tell you something. The lack of peace of mind is a very high price to pay.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
The lack
yes.
of
That's
peace
why
of
I
mind.
made that comment. It's better to be alone than to wish you are, because you get in a situation and you be like wishing you were able to be free to be you, and you can't because chink chink.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so,
And men are usually talk about the ball and chain. No, 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 no. It's the other way around.
absolutely, the ball and chain is real, right? The ball is chain is real. And we have to understand, before we succumb to the ball and chain, we have to ask the right questions. We have to understand that we're in the right place. Transparency, transparency, and vulnerability are two words that are very close, but they mean different things. See, transparency is my ability to be transparent. I'm not faking the funk. What you see is what you get. But vulnerability is when I open up and allow you to see behind the filter, behind the door pane. I allow you, because when I'm vulnerable to you, that means that I'm willing to show you my weakness, to show you things that otherwise I would hide, I wouldn't share. And when a man can trust his vulnerability to a woman and have her to embrace it, to guard it, to pray over it, it speaks volumes. When a woman, when we generally talk about a woman in vulnerability, it is also her giving of herself. It is her allowing herself to be literally trusted in your arms and your care.
Hmm.
And when men don't understand how valuable that is, then they'll never treat it the right way. They'll think it's something they did. They'll think it's something. No, 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 no. When we value that a person will go to the extreme or go to that level, it should awaken something inside of us. And that's one reason that, look, if you're not serious about something, brothers, it's all right to say, nah, I don't want to go there. Because I understand that if you go there, that, no, 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 I'm not where you are. Basically, if we're not in that same place, then it's all right, brother, to say, nah, 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 nah. That ain't where I'm going.
Absolutely. Dr. J, when I met my husband, Alex, he asked me what was it that I wanted. And I said, I want somebody to take care of me.
Yes,
And he said, well, I can take care of you, but I need you to help me take care of you.
yes,
He's like, because I'm not gonna just be like, hey, just going in for I was like, because I've been taking care of myself all my life. Matter of fact, my dad was like, why you want to get married? You already accomplished all this. What? You don't need to get married, live together. I
mm.
said, first of all, Daddy, I can't do that because I'm a woman of God. Can't do that. And I said, second of all, it's not that I need a man. I said, I want someone to share my life space with.
yes,
And he was willing to take me as I was, flaws and all.
that's
It's good when you have a partner that doesn't expect you to be Miss Perfect all the time,
well, but
and to have someone that covers you. And dad is like, well, I still don't understand why you need to be married. I said, because he makes me feel safe. I
wow,
feel protected. So when I know I can't, I know somebody who can. He has me. And truly, he has kept me. He's protected me. I mean, and I'm not this type woman that, want all this and want all that because I could buy all that. I
Exactly.
just wanted someone to be by my side, to stand with me and to love me for me, flaws and all. And I, in turn, do the same thing.
Well, I think that's a very mature perspective, because when we encounter people, sometimes a person may seem it almost like they're perfect, but you can't go and think that perfect mean without flaws, without mistakes. Perfect doesn't mean that. And so you understand that when we encounter people at whatever stage of life they're in at that time. That doesn't mean they've stopped learning. Continue. I always say it this way here: if God sent a person to your life, if the person that you're waiting on is perfect, watch this, everything is all together, then the real question is, what do they need you for?
Hmm.
And vice versa, because that you are meant to bring something or add value to their life in one way or another, and vice versa. Now, what value that you add and what value that they add is really up for you to discover. That's what you need to identify, because everybody won't necessarily add financial value, but they sure will add a sense of purpose,
Yes.
emotion, guidance. I'm more solid. My perspective, my perception, my whole mindset has shifted. I feel better about life. I see life differently. You know, I'm valued. I'm all these great things that come with it. And so when we talk about adding value, that is important. You know, uh, we often say, what, this person isn't perfect, but they're perfect for me. And that's powerful, because I believe at the end of the day that no one that you meet is already totally finished.
Oh, absolutely. That a matter of fact, sometimes that person will finish completing you to
Exactly.
thrust you into the position of the manifestation of all that God had promised you to be. So a lot of times, like I said, they don't. A lot of people are not willing and open enough to accept that it is not always going to be me, myself, and I. And when you have someone come into your life, you can't be selfish and say it's all about me. It's all
Right.
about me.
Well, that's a beautiful thing about it, because when you start talking about sharing my life is just a share. A sharing is just that. It is the coming together and we're sharing. One of the first fundamental lessons we teach children is to learn how to do what? Share.
Hmm.
Because we don't want them to be selfish. And yet it's still in our most mature and our most important relationship, oftentimes as adults, is that we struggle with, how do I how do I do that? So I want to just encourage people today that are listening, that listen, love and happiness, there is a price that we pay. You just got to make sure, is it worth it? Peace of mind is very valuable to me. And I'm so glad that I can say I'm experiencing peace of mind.
Absolutely. Me too, Dr. J. I'm so excited about this month. We got a lot to talk about, not just relationships, but it is Black History Month. So we want to
Yes.
hear some from individuals and, what are we doing? What are we doing in America? What are we doing? And what are we willing to accept? And all of this that's going on, that's stirring in the pot right now, it is going to affect us as individuals and as relationships begin to view and stir up, because we are going to need each other to stand in the midst of adversity. We're going to have to be able to, for iron to sharpen iron. So we're going to continue to talk about that next week on Hot Topics from the Soul. Now, this show has been a blessing. I need you to subscribe to Hot Topics from the Soul. Until next week, we'll see you there.
Hot topics from the soul. Hot topics from the soul.